And welcome to Exposed on Marketable Sports. This is the show where we interview athletes and we also interview sports industry professionals. You're going to learn a lot here on this show. Today's show, we feature wide receiver, University of West Florida, Rodney Coats, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's going to join us for an interview. He has just declared, I say just, it's been a couple months now, for the 2022 NFL Draft. We are excited and pleased that he's going to join us here on Exposed, the only show of its kind, Exposed right here on Marketable Sports. Sarver, what you got?
Rodney, I got questions for you.
All right, join us. Join us when we come back. First, a quick word from our sponsor, Marketable Sports, the only app that's available on Apple Android, where you can download it, update it, build a profile, players build a profile, add your stats, your highlights, your accomplishments, your contact information, show yourself off, expose yourself there on the app. And then you also have coaches. We're going to get coaches on there. We have coaches on there. We have high school coaches. We get college coaches on there. We're going to have scouts on there. We have nil businesses on there. We have agents on there, all building profiles. It's a forum for the sports industry. It's LinkedIn meets Instagram. You got it right here, Marketable Sports. Download the app. Thank you for sponsoring this show, Marketable Sports. Sarver, that's you and my brainchild. And here we go. We have this offshoot Exposed, and I'm excited about our guest. Stay tuned. We've got Rodney Coats coming up next.
We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Exposed on Marketable Sports. We've got Rodney Coats with us. Look at him right there, wide receiver extraordinaire out of University of West Florida. Rodney, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, you guys? How you doing?
Doing great. Rodney Coats graduated from West Florida, University of West Florida here in Pensacola in my backyard. Played his last season with them, 2021. And you started, you grew up in Grove Hill, Alabama. Is that right, Rodney?
Yes, sir.
So tell us, how did you make your way down to the University of West Florida from Grove Hill?
So the way I made my way down from Grove Hill, we had a spring game one time. It was going into my senior year, and a coach by the name of Jamie Deese, he stopped by. He was just recruiting the area, and he stopped by and he watched a little bit of our spring game. And so I was able to reel in a couple big catches, make a game-winning touchdown and stuff like that. And he pulled me aside. He was like, hey, we have this new program coming up at the University of West Florida. We don't have a football team yet, but, you know, it's brewing. We're going to get one, and we would like for you to come down and come to a camp and showcase your talent and stuff like that. And so fast forward to the summer, came down, did a camp, did an exceptional job at the camp, and a couple years later, I got an opportunity to play college football, play for one of the best schools, one of the best programs in the country, and I also was able to get a degree out of it. So that was my journey.
That's amazing. And so did you start the year that the program started? Did you start that same year?
I came in fall of 15.
Fall of 15. And was that the first year of the program? I'm trying to remember. I should know. I'm a graduate.
The inaugural season was 2016.
Okay. So you came in a year prior, and then the season started. So you started hitting the ground running the initial season. You're an OG with UWF.
Yeah. A pioneer, man.
You made it all the way. And let me tell you something, being an Argo alum, I'm very proud of what you all have done and what you've built. You've gone from nothing into national champions. 2019, you got the national championship, D2. And that goes not only to show how strong a coaching you had, but the prospects and the players on that team, they were able to mold players like yourself. Tell me about the coaching staff and how they helped you in your career there at West Florida and football in general.
the coaching staff is second to none. All of those guys are role model guys. I mean, like what they preach is what they practice as well. So everything that they're inputting in us, instilling in us, that's something that they're living by each and every day. And once you have those consistent role models each and every day, like it's just easy to pick up on those things and make their habits become your habits. So when you first get into the program, we don't even talk X's and O's. We talk about how to become a better person, a better father, a better employee, and later a better employer. So, and all of those things, we feel like just living the right way, doing everything you're supposed to do, the byproduct of all of that is success and winning. And we feel like that stuff will come. So just become a better person, and everything that is associated with a great person will follow. So yeah, those are the things.
That's such a great point, because, those skills translate in life. Yes. For life after football, but wow, do they translate out on the football field too? And you can see, and it's amazing how those football skills that you learn on the field and how to work as a team will then also transfer later in life too. So you're real lucky to have that experience, and I'm proud that you're an Argo. I'm going to gloat on this. Yes. Sorry, everybody. I'm an Argo fan. I'm an alumni. Hey, Sharber, you had a question. You want to talk to Rodney a little bit about growing up in Alabama, eh?
Yeah, Rodney, first of all, thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm glad we get to interview you, and you get to do this interview. But I have a question. Growing up in Alabama, who was your biggest football influence?
So growing up in Alabama, my biggest football influence, I really didn't get into football really until like in middle school. So at that point, I was able to like formulate my own thoughts and what I have for the game and stuff like that. So I would have to say Julio Jones would be like an Alabama native guy that I really like just looked up to and try to model myself after, because he was local. He was from Foley. And he also played at the school that everybody from Alabama wants to play at. And the way that he handled himself throughout that whole process.
Oh, dang, we lost him. All right, we had a little technical difficulties, but Rodney, you were talking to us about Julio Jones. By the way, Foley boy is spitting distance from Pensacola. I watched him, Foley, Daphne at high school championship. I was up at my grandfather's house in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they had that on national TV, that high school game. Foley, Daphne, man, it was awesome. And Julio lit it up. I knew he was going to be awesome at Alabama. But go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you, Rodney. You were talking about how he was probably your biggest influence in football.
Yeah. And no disrespect to the guys that came before him and stuff like that. I can just only speak for myself and when I fell in love with the game for myself. So around that time, it was like 2008-ish. I was like sixth grade. But Julio Jones was definitely like a great role model for me. The way how he carried himself on the field, off the field, his work ethic. My mom was fortunate enough to be able to send me to those camps. So I had one-on-one and in-person, experiences with those guys, and just the way he handled himself, even with all the fame at a young age and stuff like that, for him to be a guy of that stature and still have the humbleness to be able to come and talk to aspiring athletes and stuff like that. I just really took a lot from that. And so, yeah, he really did a lot for me as a player, more than he probably ever know. He probably don't even know who I am, but he did a lot for me, and I appreciate him for that.
That's so important. It's so awesome that he does that, because to me, giving back and paying forward is such an important thing of what we do. And it may not mean much to us at the time that we're doing, like you were saying to Julio, but the impact it has on the others that we're doing this for is immense. And so that's really cool. And I hope that, and I know you will, moving forward, you pay it forward. I've seen you at local camps here in Pensacola with youth going out there and volunteering your time and giving back to those kids. And I've seen the smiles on their faces, and it's so cool that you do that. I know that faith is very important in your personal life. Why don't you talk a little bit about your personal life and your family life so that the folks at home can get to know you off the field a little bit more?
Definitely. If you know me, you know I'm real big on family. Anything that I can do to put a smile on their face, anything that I can do for family, and not just saying the people that are associated with me, like as far as blood wise and stuff like that. I feel like loyalty and just personal characteristics that you know, have and stuff like that. Like as you grow up, you're able to start choosing your family and stuff. And so the people that I've came into contact with, if I call you my family, like I'll go above and beyond. So I love family. I love what happens when family gets together. You know, that's why I was so opposed to COVID when it first hit, because I wasn't able to just go home and love on my family the way I wanted to and stuff, because I have a lot of family members that have underlying conditions and stuff like that. So just wanted to play it safe, but not being able to just go and give my family members a hug. You know, we're from Southern Alabama and stuff like that. So we're real big into barbecues and cookouts and all that good stuff, just having a good time and embracing each other and just fellowshipping. So yeah, family is very big for me. Family is very
fellowshipping and food. Sarver's Pennsylvania boy. He doesn't know the South, man. There's nothing like sitting down at a cookout and doing some fellowship and hanging out with family and friends. Boy, you can't beat it. I tell you what.
Well, maybe I'll get that opportunity someday.
Yeah, man. It's so simple, but it's the best thing ever. I would choose a family cookout over anything else like in the world.
100%. 2020 really took a hit on everybody with COVID, not only personally and knocked out y'all's season, but you came back in 2021, still defending national champions, got to wear that crown the entire season. You ended up with a great season, 38 catches, 656 yards, 6 TDs. One thing that I noted, and you and I have talked about this, and I want you to talk about it, because for some people it stands out and say, oh, what happened here? Did you get hurt or something? And no, what it really shows is another side. You look at your second game of the season, the 2021 season, you had 9 catches, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns, lights out game. And then the next game, 0 catches, 0 yards. A lot of people look at that and say, well, what happened? Me, I see a different side. I'd like you to explain that. Kind of why was it that you had monster game and then the next game you had no catches?
Definitely. So everybody, week in, week out, they want to have that big game. I personally do. Every week, if I can go for 300 and whatever I need to do to help my team, I'm not really a big stat guy, but whatever I can do that week to help my team to get the victory, that's what I'm all for. But without this cutting edge technology and stuff like that, people watch film just like we do, you know. So a guy that's coming in off of a monster game like that, one of your focal points coming into that game is like, don't let him do what he did again. So my role was still my role, but it often kind of changed. So before we even took a snap, you know, guys was keying me and stuff like that. I was getting clouded, double coverages and stuff. And so our system is it's built on take what the defense gives you. So if, you know, every time I run a route and I'm taking 2 and 3 guys down the field, that means somebody on my team is open. So, you know, I played my role, you know, even though it was just decoying and stuff like that, taking guys every time I ran, like 2 and 3 defenders, and it's 11 guys on the field. I played my role. So I did what I had to do. It probably didn't show up on the statistics side of that, but as far as like getting the win and playing my role and help aiding other players' success on the team, I feel like I did that abundantly that game.
And you're not kidding. You look at that game, by the way, for those that know D2, they know Texas A&M Commerce as a powerhouse in D2. That third game that you were the decoy, really playing that role, getting defenses on you, you stomped down on Texas A&M Commerce, who, by the way, they beat y'all in the national championship game. Wasn't it them back in, was that 18?
It was 2017. Texas A&M, they gave us that beating, but you know, like a lot of respect to that team and stuff like that. But we just knew we wasn't having that again. It wasn't going to be a repeat. So we came up there and we handled it.
Hey, you did your job. You opened it up for the other receivers, and y'all come out on top. Big win in that game, and that just shows. Yes, every single wide receiver wants to be the man and wants to be the top dog. But you know what? Sometimes being the top dog means you got to take one for the team, bring those defenders on you, help out your quarterback, and open up these other receivers, tight ends, running backs. And that's what you did. Let's talk a little bit about your time at UWF. I know that you lined up all over the place. Sometimes you're outside, sometimes you're in the slot. Where did you find that your most effective spot was? Or which one you liked the most? Those are really two different kind of questions, but I'm curious about that because I know that we watched you in the Tropical Bowl, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but you play anywhere on that field, I'll tell you what.
Definitely. To me, I have no preference. I can line up in the slot, and I can be one of those finesse guys, and I can line up outside, and I can blow the top off of coverage and play big boy ball and be a possession receiver. So just whatever's needed. I'm not, but it's no position on the field at the receiver spot or any other position that I say I just like more than the other one. At UWF, to be able to help my team, I played probably like 65 to 70% of all of my snaps as an outside receiver and stuff. But when they told me to get on the inside, I wasn't opposed to it. And I was just as productive as a slot receiver as I was as an outside receiver. So I have no preference. Put me anywhere, same results.
Yeah, anybody that's watched your highlight film sees that you do line up and you're not afraid to go anywhere against anybody. And that's what you want out of your wide receivers. Sarver, you got something for Rodney on, by the way, in case we didn't say, I thought I did. Rodney's entering into the 2022 NFL draft. Obviously, that's a big thing. That's why he's sitting here with us. Big time. I know it's a little nervy, but you're doing the work. You're doing everything you got to do, putting in the effort. Sarver, what you got for Rodney?
Well, since we're talking about the draft, Rodney, what sets you apart from other wide receivers entering the draft?
I kind of just touched on it a little bit when he asked me what position I like to play. So I'm a 6'2", 200-pound guy. I'm not 6'5", so I'm not like a gigantic monster, and I'm not like a 5'8", 5'10" guy, so I'm not small as well. So I fit like right in that happy median. But one thing about it, I feel like I'm hybrid. When I go in the slot or when I'm outside, I have just as much as finesse as shorter guys. And when you put me on the outside from my highlight reels and everybody that knows me, I make the acrobatic catches. I go up and I go high point the ball and meet the ball in the air and stuff like that. So just whatever you need at that time. You know, I'm just as productive as a 6'5" receiver, and I'm just as elusive as a 5'8", 5'9" guy. So I feel like me being able to just be any and everything that's needed on that given play sets me apart from everybody else. I'm not one-dimensional.
Well, at the Tropical Bowl, they did the measurables that had your wing at 77.5, which is, 6'5" and a half, basically. So the length is there. To me, that adds a whole new aspect. It allows you to get down, get up above with your arms. That was for me. I was always these long arms. And so when I played basketball, people didn't like playing against me because they said, oh, you're always baiting me. And I said, well, yeah, that's kind of the deal in basketball. I got the length, buddy. That's the way it goes. But yeah, so you take advantage of that physical attribute, and I've seen it out on the field. It helps you get up high, and then you can still extend out across the middle. And I see those as attributes that you want in your NFL wide receivers.
Definitely. It's definitely a blessing. It makes my catch radius so much more bigger, so much more wider. So just having those long arms, they used to call me, like a lot of coaches in high school used to call me, he has orangutan arms, because like when I stand straight up, like my fingertips are almost at my knees. So, yeah. but it definitely helps me out. It might look weird to some people, but I mean, I love it. I love it.
Hey, orangutan arms is a compliment. We would call it grape ape. That's probably a cartoon that's way before your day, but it was the same kind of thing as arms would drag along the ground. But, Sarver, you had something else for Rodney, didn't you?
Yeah, just my last question, Rodney. Doesn't have anything to do with the NFL draft, but my last question to you would be, who was your biggest role model growing up that made you the person you are today?
That's a big one.
Can
he pick more than one, Sarver? What if it's more than one? Okay, you're not stuck to just one if you have more than one.
Okay. Well, little Grove Hill. I'm not gonna say like it was a melting pot of people. It really, like the saying, like it takes a village. Like the village all got together and they pushed me and they rallied me and they, helped me to become the person who I am. So my community is definitely very big on who I am today. But I would have to say, like, the example, if I had to pinpoint a person, would be my late grandfather, Mr. Eugene Coats. He taught me everything that I know. He took the time out with me, not saying that my parents didn't and stuff like that. My parents raised me and they raised me well. But when they was at work and stuff, I went to go hang out with my granddad. So I got a lot of wisdom, from those talks. I got a lot of like just a lot of things that I feel sorry for the younger kids today didn't get. And he was able to instill a lot of stuff into me that made me into the man that I am today. And like on some of his sayings and teachings and stuff like that, I reference back to that each and every day of my life. And so just to have that and have him placed in my life was the biggest thing and the best thing that ever could have happened to me. So my granddad. Definitely.
Oh man, I got goosebumps. I could go along that. Rodney, mine was my grandfather too. Named my firstborn son after him. He was that much of an impact. And he lived in Cincinnati. I got to see him once a year when they would come down to Florida. But the impact, well, maybe a couple times because we would go up there. But the impact in those, I know I could envision those sit downs with my grandfather. And like you were having with yours, I could envision you doing that. And they're so impactful on a young mind. And grandparents know it because they had lived it before and they know they're imparting knowledge and you're lucky. And man, that's an awesome experience to have.
Yeah, family's important. That's great, Rodney.
Definitely.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up with on Exposed. I ask every guest 3 questions. It's the same 3 questions. You are really our first outside guest. So you're the first one that gets to experience this. Hey, all right. Let's see how you handle these. All right. First question. What is one mistake you've learned the most from, or one piece of advice that you received from a coach or somebody in sports that you instill that has had the biggest impact on you? Whether it's a mistake, you learn from it, and that's impacted you, and you instill that you learned, or some piece of advice that you instill.
So a piece of advice that was instilled in me that I reference back to daily is become a fan of yourself and become a fan of your process. A lot of times, guys that are on these journeys and stuff like that, and just striving for excellence, they think all of their wins have to be these big, ginormous ones and stuff like that. But the crazy part about it, it's the small wins that make those big wins so big. Like it was the work, all the small wins that make the big win as big as it is. So, and as we grow up, you don't get as many like, hey, good job. Hey, I see what you're doing, keep going and stuff like that. As you grow up, you don't get as many of those. So, but it's also very important to give every victory its proper acknowledgement. Pat yourself on your back sometimes. Embrace your journey, embrace what you did to get here and stuff like that, because I feel like it's important. It's very important, and not to just look over those things, because what's not big to you is enormous probably to somebody else, or somebody else wished that they had that little thing that you're like calling small. So just become a fan of yourself, become a fan of your process, and pat yourself on the back every now and then.
Brilliant advice. I love all of it. And for the young listeners out there, follow that, because 2 important things. Number 1, how can you not, well, let me put it this way. How can you not best succeed if you're not a fan of yourself? You've got to believe in yourself. You got to believe that you can be the best in every situation, or at least you try your hardest. So be a fan of yourself. And everything in this is a process. It's not an event. It's steps to get to wherever you're going, and enjoy those steps along the way. Take a minute, enjoy them, savor them. That's fantastic advice. You live by that and you're not going to go wrong. mistakes may happen, bad things may happen, but you dust yourself off and it's easy to get back up on that and start climbing back up. I have a theory. I'm not going to reveal it yet. This is my second question. This is why I ask it. I'm going to let you answer first, and then I'm going to ask Sarver too. Your first memory as a human being. What was the first thing you ever remember? I know what mine is, and the people that are going to listen to the show, they're going to get sick of hearing mine. But the first memory that you have, and how old were you?
Oh, man. I feel like I was probably 2 or 3. And the first memory that I could recall is I'm like the youngest grandson. So I just recall running after all my cousins, just trying to be able to keep up. You know, I'm finally out the house. I'm still a baby, but I'm not classified as the baby anymore. I got more free range. So I'm just trying to run around and keep up with those guys and gals and stuff like that and just be a kid. So yeah, that would have to be my.
Okay. All right. Was there an injury involved?
No, I feel like it was a lot of falling, but I don't think it was anything.
Okay. All right. Okay. You might already be disproving my theory. Sarver, what's your first memory?
First memory ever?
Yeah.
Oh, gee, that's a tough one. I'm 49, so listen.
Okay,
man,
I'll tell you mine.
It's a long time ago. Hold on.
Okay, well, I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. I got a scar right here. 3 years old, maybe 4. My parents are away. We had a babysitter there, Kathy Kennedy. I remember her. She was our babysitter. I had thrown a sock top up on, one of these things, keep your head warm, thrown it up on a bookshelf. I was laughing. It was my brother's. Hey, look, my older brother. I had sitting on the back of a chair, fell backwards onto the corner of a wooden table, cut my head open, had to go to the hospital, like 5-6 stitches, whatever. Yes, traumatic event. That was my first memory. And my theory was everybody that I've asked, you have a very pleasant first memory, Rodney, I must say. Everybody else that I've asked, it's like some traumatic event or some event where they got injured, where they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. But I'm proud to say you have a very nice first memory. Sarver, did you come up with one?
Yeah, mine was a little older, and it's kind of similar to yours. I remember getting hurt playing touch football in the street with my neighbor, and his father came out and tackled me in the street, and I chipped my front tooth.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and so as a young kid, I had to go to school with a chipped tooth for a couple of days until they can fill it in.
Traumatic event and injury.
I remember traumatic event.
Rodney, I'm coming back to you on this one. I think you've got a first memory that involves some type of injury. We'll do it in interview 2 after Pro Day. We didn't talk about that. Pro Day, your Pro Day is coming up at University of West Florida. The date is what? Please remind us again.
March 11th.
March 11th. For those scouts out there that want to check out Rodney live and in person, University of West Florida, Pensacola, Florida, March 11th. He will be showing the skills out there. That's where you can see him. Rodney, one last question. Is there any question that I missed or that you wished I would have asked you, or some subject that that you want to talk about that we didn't talk about today?
To be honest, I feel like you did a great job and you covered everything. So, yeah.
I got one for you. It just popped in my head. You got to tell us about the light of your life right now, your son, Chase. Tell us a little bit about Chase.
Man, Chase, good gracious. That's my little dude right there. Any of you guys don't know, he kind of said it. I have a son. His name is Chase. That's my why. That's my biggest why. But as of right now, he's in kindergarten, doing exceptionally well, all A's in school. They can take the football away from you at any given point, but they can't take that knowledge away from you. So I'm real big on education with him.
True.
He's the most energetic, the most talkative. Good gracious. For the 5-year-old, he has a birthday coming up in April, so we'll be celebrating him here shortly and stuff like that. But Yeah, that little guy, he is my reason why. He's the reason why, like, I wake up each and every day. He's the reason why I try to walk a straight and narrow line and stuff like that, because I just want to be able to equip him with all the tools so he can be a successful human being in life, and just, make him proud to say that I am his father. And I'm definitely proud that he's my son. So yeah, that's my little man.
That's so awesome. I got a 5-year-old too, and their birthdays are a week apart. My little guy is just about 6 days before your boys.
Yes, sir.
So, Arvin, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, listen, an exceptional person, Rodney, is you're not just a great football player, you're a great father and a great person in general. And I think people are going to find that out about you, and after they see this interview, or the ones that already know who you are, they know all this about you. So, but since Johnny and I and you, we all have kids, and family is super important to us, and I think it's great that we all have something like that in common to share, family.
Well,
and kids.
Rodney, thank you so much for joining us here on Exposed. I know you're working out. We didn't talk about, one thing I did. Let's wrap it. Let me go back real quick. Talk about real quick for us what you've been doing since the UWF season ended. I know it ended in the end of November. So just tell us a little bit. You've been training, I know. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You're training at University of West Florida with the training staff and athletic trainers there, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Played All-Star Bowl down at the Tropical Bowl in Orlando.
Yes, sir. Definitely did.
And not only are you training, but you're also working too, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
So you got a lot on your plate, man. And I tell you what, that's good to see. Teams want to see that you're out there doing it. Not only the training, not only the work on the football field, but what are you doing off the football field? Are you going out there and working in your profession of your major, or doing something that's going to advance you? Because you know what? That makes the man. And that's the type of man that they want on their football team, is self-motivated and somebody who's independent and can also work as a teammate. So fantastic. Rodney, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to follow up and do a second interview with you after your pro day. Can't wait to see you again. Best of luck at your pro day. And that's Rodney Coats, folks. He has been exposed right here on Marketable Sports.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right. See you guys.
Best of luck to you, Rodney.
Sir, have a good one.
All right.